Today we're going to talk about pricing furniture, pricing services, things like that. Had somebody request that do a video on this, and of course I'm happy to do it. So pricing your services and your furniture, your goods, whatever, is always tricky, right? Because it depends on what kind of market you're playing. It depends on what kind of customer you're dealing with. It depends on a lot of factors, you know. So I'm going to strictly talk about it from my situation, where my customer is, where my products and services are. And then depending on what the comments are like, we can kind of move downstream. But I'm gonna start where I operate. You know, I think it'd be the best place to do this. So anyway, I operate in the luxury goods space, like definitely high luxury good type situation. And so we tend to look at pricing structures very different than the normal. The normal people look at things like, you ever heard something called a wrap rate? It's basically like all of your, your labor, your benefits, your insurance, all the, subscriptions you have, rent, mortgages, whatever that might be. You basically have to factor all that kind of stuff up, and then you kind of pick a number and you multiply it times that number. You get kind of a general rate as to what you should charge for goods and services, things like that. And we don't do that at all. Our pricing structure is literally based on scarcity, demand, and lust. The amount of time that it takes almost has nothing to do with it. The cost of the goods, the plywoods, veneers, paints, things like that have almost nothing to do with it. So our situation is a little bit different than most people's, so I hope this applies to people. And again, add to the comments, add to the discussion. If you got specific questions, I'll go over those. But I wrote down, several things, basically just kind of so I can remember what I want to talk about. I don't want to miss some things. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Pricing furniture, pricing services as a luxury goods manufacturer, right? So anyway, my name is Eric Wilk, and I own the Resplendent Crow here in St. Louis, Missouri. And we're a small furniture boutique company. We do about 500 pieces a year. We are known for our high gloss lacquer coating. We're becoming more and more known for our high quality, custom made boutique furniture that is stain grade. If you guys go on the resplendentcrow.com, go on Modern Woodrunner, go on Instagram, Facebook, all these places where our business is, you'll see a lot of these really high-end crotch mahogany, flame mahogany, really high quality walnut veneers and hardwoods and things that we're using on some of this new furniture. This is all custom ordered stuff, right? And custom ordered stuff is, again, very different when you're a luxury goods provider of things as opposed to kind of a normie, right? So when, if anyone knows anything about fashion, I always talk about this, I lose people, but Chanel is a very high-end clothing company. Well, that company makes things called couture clothing, right? And this is clothing that it's custom clothing. And it's obscenely expensive, right? Because it's very different having a legacy company like Chanel make you something versus having someone like, your local seamstress, right? Someone that you find on Facebook Marketplace. Both probably do a pretty good job, to be quite honest with you, but Chanel has whatever 80 years of heritage, whereas the person down the street has 0. So anyway, these things you got to think about when you're pricing stuff. Again, it's a little bit different to do these kind of things. But anyway, so that's our company. We're located here in St. Louis, Missouri, and we've got we got about 12 to 20,000 square feet here. We do a lot of paint operations, and we do a lot of furniture operations. We ship our furniture all over America. So part of our pricing structure and part of what makes our company different than a lot of other people's is that we always include shipping, white glove shipping, into the price of our goods. We include everything except maybe hardware, right? But it's an all-inclusive, frictionless transaction process. And that's one of the reasons that, at least I believe, that we're in business and our business has grown and done really well since it was started. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So pricing. All right, so we'll get cracking on this. If you guys are in the comments in the feed today, please add to the discussion, hit the like button, and we'll get cracking on this. Okay, so the first thing you have to understand about pricing furniture, so I sell all different kinds of furniture. And again, if you go to resplendentcrow.com, you'll see all that furniture, right? There's not a place where we're going to try and sell you bullshit. It's nothing but high-end furniture and hardware. That's all we sell. We're not trying to sell things that aren't related to those things. We're very specific about our product, about what kind of customer we want to be there, what kind of customer we want to see our products, right? We don't want normies. We don't want lower-end people. It's only $500,000, $1 million a year in revenue or salary, whatever you want to call it. It's a very affluent type of product. We basically cater to, I would say, women that are 40, 45 and up. This is our demographic. So we've tailored everything to that demographic, right? What does a 45-year-old woman and up want if they're going to buy a piece of furniture, right? People like women really like blingy kinds of furniture. They really like things that are beautiful and rare. They like things to be, what's the other good word I'm looking for here? They like to, they basically want to lust after things. That's kind of how they see it. Women can't move furniture, right? They want things delivered into their home. They want everything to be done for them, as opposed to them trying to say, well, maybe I can save some money if I go get the piece of furniture. Maybe I can save some money if I say, don't put your hardware there. Maybe I can save some money. Maybe I can save some money. That's not our customer. So we don't price our products as such, right? We don't cater to that type of client. We're catering to the person that wants to pick something out, we'll pay our price, and we'll have it delivered, no questions asked. We talk to the customer at the beginning of the sales process. We rarely talk to the customer till the very end when we're delivering the piece of furniture again. So there can be 8 to as much as 12 weeks where we don't talk to the customer. Customers ask us no questions. It's not a situation like that where there's this constant communicating back and forth. There's nothing like that. It's a great way to do business, and this is why I'm always telling you guys, you can operate in the good, better, or best tier. And if you operate in that best tier, it's very smooth for the most part and easy to do business with people. Whereas if you operate in that lower tier, you get people asking questions and trying to get deals and wanting coupons and Groupons and any kind of discount they can possibly get. So we first off is we don't cater to anybody but super affluent people because it's just too much of a pain in the ass to deal with everyone. And plus the margins are much better when you're dealing with people with money. Okay, so I have 4 product lines. Okay, I wrote them all down here. My product lines are vintage furniture, right? That's how the Resplendent Crow was started, is with vintage furniture. All right. The other thing is we make new furniture, right? We make more furniture now than we've ever made, and people are still shocked today that we make so much furniture. A lot of people don't even know we make furniture because we've done vintage for so long. So we have that, we have hardware, and then we have custom work, right? Custom work is one of these things that everybody opposite talks about it like it's this great thing, and I'll tell you guys this, custom work does not pay very well. Like, even when you're dealing with the super affluent people, there's a lot of people that think, well, if you just deal with affluent customers, they're always going to pay your prices, you'll always make tons of money. And I'm here to tell you that's not the case. It can, for sure, but the truth is that you have to kind of pick and choose how you charge and what you charge for your custom products depending on who your customer is, right? Super customers are treated very different than customers you've never dealt with, okay? So those are some of the things you got to think. So we'll start with vintage, all right? So here's how I price out everything. The question was, how do you price your furniture, right? What do I do? So my favorite thing about being a business owner, I can have beers at lunch. All right, so I'll give you guys the actual equations, right? So here's how I do this stuff. So I told you guys just a minute ago, I don't care about materials for the most part. I don't care about labor. I don't care about the price of gas. I don't care about any of that shit. Because we've done this for so long that we kind of understand approximately what things are going to cost. Okay, so what we do is, and I wrote it down, when it comes to pricing out vintage furniture, right? Because we pick the furniture up, right? So if we're here in St. Louis, right? If our customer in New York wants to pick up their furniture that their grandparents had that they don't want to throw away, they want to have us paint it, we'll pick it up, bring it back here to St. Louis, we'll fix everything, do whatever they need done, we'll high gloss lacquer, we'll make it beautiful, and we'll wrap it and we'll ship it with our shippers right back to them, put it back right where we got it. And this is a service that customers are more than willing to pay for. Affluent people want you to take care of them. You can make the most beautiful product in the world, but if you're not going to deliver it to the high-rise penthouse in New York, they're not going to do business with you. These people aren't coming to your shop to pick up your fucking furniture. They're just not going to do it. It's you take care of them, and they will take care of you kind of situation, okay? So here's the equation. The equation works like this, okay? If it's a piece that's basically under 60 inches wide, right? Basically, you're going to end up with a standard of 60 by 32 is kind of how we look at our furniture, right? So we take that number and then we multiply it by 1.5. Okay, so if you take 60 times 32 times 1.5, you're going to come up with 2880, right? So this is the number. So if I have to send a driver over to New York on one of my trips, he has to go and pick the thing up, bring it back here, we're going to fix it up, we're going to do our thing, and then he's going to take it back there on his next trip, right? So really the biggest cost of that whole situation is going to be insurance and transportation. Because in order to get into some of these penthouses, you got to have COIs, which are basically insurance that if you mess up the building, that your insurance is going to pay for, right? The person that owns the building is not going to pay for it. The person that's renting in the building is not going to pay for it. The building's not going to pay for it. You, as the person going into the building, the service provider, are going to pay for that. So that's a cost you guys have to think about when you're trying to price this stuff out. So that's what we do for almost all of our furniture, right? So it's length times width times 1.5, okay? Now, say you get into bigger pieces of furniture like china cabinets, right? So we do a lot of china cabinets. We're known for putting pretty paper in the back of them, updating lighting, moving doors and drawers around, adding beautiful hardware, all these kind of things. Maybe the glass needs to be replaced. We take care of all that stuff. Now, when you move into that situation, you're talking about pieces that are can be 72 wide, and most of them are like in the 80s tall. 84 is kind of a common number. So you're looking at 84 tall. So you're going to go into the same equation there, right? So if you go in the same equation, say 72 by 84 times 1.5, well, there you're at $9,000, okay? Now, having done this for a long time, we know that there are certain customers that would absolutely pay that price, but truth is that is too much money, right? And this is the thing, even as a luxury goods manufacturer, a provider of a luxury service, these kind of things, we know that there's a ceiling to how much you can charge for certain things, again, because we've done it over the years. So in that situation, if you did the math on it and you just multiplied it times 1, you come to $6,000, right? So that's more of a kind of a realistic number for doing china cabinets, because again, the most expensive part of that whole thing is the transportation, right? It's getting people to go and take that china cabinet out of the apartment or the whatever, the penthouse, wherever these people might be, taking it out, right? Because it's got to come out multiple pieces, takes multiple people. You've got to park, which is crazy in these places. You have to deal, again, with the COIs, you got to deal with all this kind of stuff. Getting it back here, we're so efficient at doing this work at this point, the cost is minimal to us. The cost on something like this is probably going to be $1,000, $1,500 maybe a little bit more, depending on what the issues are. But again, for the most part, that $6,000 is going to cover the transportation and the wrap rate, no problem. And we're going to end up making probably $2,000 on that transaction, which might not sound like a lot, but again, you do that over 500 pieces a year. Let's just say that's average, right? There's $100,000. That's profit. That's because you're including your wrap rate, right? You're including all of your materials, all of your, insurance, rent, mortgages, whatever you got, all that's included, so we know that number is good. Now, for certain kinds of clients, depending on where we're going, if we got a client that has something literally in a penthouse, we almost always investigate our clients before we ever deal with them. And this is kind of a back-end thing. If you guys are in this conversation at this point, this is something you're never going to hear from people, okay? When you deal with wealthy people, you always investigate the people that you're working with, right? It doesn't matter who it is. You will get their information one way or another. You're always going to look at where they live, what the estimated value of their property is, the taxes they pay. You're going to know all this kind of information almost instantaneously. So it helps you to kind of gauge what's a realistic price for certain kinds of people to pay. We know that if we're going into a $14 million house on the beach, price isn't a problem, So we might have our price a little bit higher than we normally would because we know a client's not going to balk at that kind of stuff. If we're dealing with a client that's got a $1.5 million home in the middle of downtown or whatever, we're probably going to massage the price just a little bit because we want the opportunity to deal with that client, right? To show them how amazing our service is and how the value and the quality that we get and the amazingness of the finished product. We want to be able to get that into their hands because our product is like crack, right? Once you get it, it's very difficult to get off of it, right? It's unless you provide a really shitty service or you send them a really poor product, they have a really poor experience, which can happen. It's not very common, but it definitely can happen. But if you provide good service and you have a good quality product like we do, we generally get these people for life, but we get a lot of opportunities to earn their business, right? Which is basically how the game is played, okay? So that's vintage furniture. Vintage furniture is literally just a calculation. There's no special, we're not factoring in things like scarcity. We're not factoring in craftsmanship. We're not factoring even a lust factor because it's vintage. A lot of people, if I'm being completely honest, do painted vintage furniture. I think after COVID or during COVID, everyone and their brother was painting furniture because no one had anything to do. And so a lot of people got into the high gloss lacquer game, and I think most of them are gone at this point. But there's a lot more competition than there used to be, so it's not as easy to upcharge people or to get more profit on the vintage side than prior to COVID, So that's how we price it when it comes to vintage pieces, all right? So here, we'll stop here in the comments real quick. So who do we got here? We got, who's this, Tanya or Tanaha? I don't know how to pronounce that, but you're in here, good to see you. We got Kapavi, yeah, I guess what it is. Hello, good to see you. We got Mercedes Morales in here. I've seen you before. Good to see you again. If you're in the stream, hit the like button. We're learning about pricing vintage furniture, new furniture, custom furniture, hardware as a luxury good provider, right? Again, we've been in business for, I think, 9 years at this point. It's been a great business. We've learned a lot of things, and this is the secret sauce to how we price all of our stuff. Okay, so next thing we talk about vintage furniture. How do you price new furniture? So new furniture is something that we brought in when I came on board. When I started dating my wife and she was just starting to paint the vintage stuff, I came in and helped her modify the vintage stuff and then start making new stuff. We started making all kinds of freaking furniture. But we've grown this thing into where now we make a lot more new furniture than we sell of vintage furniture, which is really cool because the margins are significantly better on new furniture. Okay, so this is when you're making new furniture. This is again part of that good, better, and best thing, right? Like you really have to operate in the best tier, right? And for reference, a company like Restoration Hardware is kind of in better to best is kind of how I would categorize it. Pottery Barn, Crate and Barrel, Williams Sonoma. These are kind of in the better tier. You know, best tier is, I can't really even think of anyone that's in the best tier. I mean, maybe like a Theodore Alexander, maybe, or maybe a Century Furniture might be in that best tier. Bassett's kind of in the better to best tier. You know, so it's very difficult to get people into this particular tier, which is the best as it pertains to furniture, because furniture is so competitive, right? Anybody with a freaking garage is a furniture maker. We hear this all the time, but almost none of them make money at it, right? It's very difficult to make money as a furniture maker because it takes so much damn work. The skill set is so high, which is why most people will not compete in the best tier. They generally compete in the good or the better tier because you can CNC cut everything. You can hire assemblers as opposed to craftspeople and furniture makers. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different way to run a business. But you have to make your money on volume, right? Whereas we make our money on our brand name, right? And this is very different than a lot of people, okay? So new furniture, how do you price new furniture? So the way that we price our new furniture, what I typically categorize new furniture as is it's basically something where we have engineering, right? We have engineering. We've built several pieces of it, right? So we have tooling. We're going to have some kind of process on how to make it. We've got some kind of information on best practices in order to make that piece of furniture, right? So the way that we price our new furniture, again, has nothing to do with the price of materials. It has nothing to do with the price of paint, veneers, labor, none of that. It's got nothing to do with it. It's all basically done on scarcity, right? So how many people can sell what I'm selling? You know, and the truth is that when I put out a new product, almost nobody sells the kind of furniture that we sell because it's made by hand and it's not highly replicatable, you know, and everything is replicatable, don't get me wrong. But most people don't want to go through the effort to recreate what it is that we create because they can't get the price that we get because they don't have the name, right? This is the branding side of things that I'm always trying to tell you guys about. Like branding takes a long time, but if you can create a brand that operates in that best tier of quality, of desire, lust, all these kind of things, it allows you to charge an exorbitant amount of money based on the name. So you're not just trying to compete with everybody that makes furniture because you've got a brand. Your name is far and away better than everybody else's, which is ultimately what you want to do. So when I price my furniture, I literally just look at what is the market doing for credenzas, right? I'll look at that. I'll look at what we are selling other credenzas for, right? Am I selling credenzas for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000? Where is the market currently when I'm selling that product, right? So if my best-selling credenza is, say, a Zane credenza, which I think the list on those things is like, it's like in the fives, like $5,000 range. Anytime I make a credenza, that's basically my floor, right? Because it's a very easy cabinet to build. I sell a ton of them. So if I'm going to sell something that is going to be more difficult to make than a Zane credenza, you know, maybe it's like an Emily type credenza, or it's going to be one of our other more complicated credenzas, like a Savannah breakfront credenza. My baseline is going to be $5,000. Doesn't matter what the materials are because the materials on that cabinet would be like $2,000 at most. I'm going to charge probably $7,000 to $10,000 for that credenza because it's extremely difficult to make and there's almost no competition for that furniture. And our company has created the demand for the products that we sell, okay? This is one of the things that a lot of, especially custom furniture makers, don't understand. if you're going to sell a piece of furniture, you have to create the demand for the product that you're going to sell. If all you do is wait for other people to come to you and say, hey, I need you to make me this, or I need you to make me that, there's no demand for that product, right? Whereas if you get multiple customers coming to you saying, hey, I was at my neighbor's house and they had one of your pieces of furniture, I want one. Or I was at a party and a bunch of us were looking at these awesome pieces of furniture, I gotta have one of those, right? You get enough people doing that kind of stuff, or hey, I saw your pictures, I saw the videos you were doing of that piece of furniture, where can I get that piece of furniture? And it's, well, we sell that piece of furniture, right? So you can sell that thing for $7,000 to $10,000, right? What's gonna happen, and this is the thing that people need to wrap their brains around. This is tough for me to understand too. Anything that we make as a furniture maker, people that want value, right, or they want to get what we sell for a little bit less, they're going to go all over the place looking for a custom furniture maker to make our furniture. It happens all the time, right? People that have money and people that are interested in brands and quality and brand names, stuff like that, which are going to be your wealthy people, they want the name more than anything, right? They want the beautiful furniture, don't get me wrong, but they don't want someone coming to them and asking, oh, is that a Resplendent Crow? I've seen that, that's beautiful. And then they go, oh no, actually, Joe Blow down the street built for me. Like, they do not want that, okay? And this is brand, right? This is scarcity, right? This is like all these things that I'm trying to tell you guys. Like, if you can build this thing up, right? If you are synonymous with this thing that people really desire, or what I'm going to say is lust. People lust after this stuff. You can charge whatever you want, right? So again, scarcity and demand are the way that we charge for new furniture, right? So I don't have an equation. It's nothing like that. It's based on what I've been selling stuff for previously. It's based on what the demand is via the metrics that I have on my website, on the different platforms that I sell my furniture on, dealing with customers, these kind of things. So it's not the answer that everybody wants, but I hope that this gives you something else to think about when you're pricing out your work. So if you're just Joe Blow, making a piece of furniture, if you make something new that nobody is asking for, right? You make this for yourself. Maybe you put it in your home. Maybe it's for your wife. If you're a female woodworker, maybe it's for your husband, your brother, sister, whatever. If you make that thing and then you post pictures about it, and you can build up to where other people want that piece of furniture because you have great pictures of it, great video, you get a little bit of buzz about you as a fabricator, you can start to work on that price, right? Because as more people want your products, you can charge more for them, but you have to take the time to do that. And that's what we do with new furniture. We create the demand for our products almost before we sell them, right? And we've been creating demand for so many years that demand, when we put out a new product, compounds upon the previous products that we put out, So that's how I price new furniture. It's all based on what I've sold in the past. It's all based on my immediate demand. If I make something that's kind of generic, that's just a new product, because we try and put out new products as regularly as we can, sometimes we'll sell a product for fairly cheap to kind of begin with, just to kind of get the demand out there. But generally what I do is I make a piece of furniture and then I showcase it in my house. I'll sell my prototype, my first piece, to a client on the back end for really cheap, right? Just so I get really good pictures of it. And we'll use that to kind of build up this demand for the product, and allows us to charge higher prices than I think most people could charge for their furniture, especially new furniture. Like this is all production-based furniture that I'm talking about. So I hope this kind of makes sense to people. Oh boy, we got Mike in here today. Okay, comparatively speaking to normie people, seeking product would be Starbucks, right? You can get coffee at the gas station. Yeah, and that's, and Mike, I've thought about that. Yes, you're right to an extent. So basically what you're talking about is location, right? You can buy a bottle of water at Walmart for 50 cents. You go to the convenience store, it's, $2.79. You go to the airport, it's, $5-6, right? It's all about where you're selling this stuff. You can sell a mediocre product to an expensive, affluent person in an affluent area for a lot more than you could sell it for the, the quick trip in Normieville. So yeah, all those kind of things matter. And yeah, what you're talking about with Starbucks, again, I think all that stuff is applicable. But what I'm saying that's really important is that you have to get your furniture into the hands of the people that have the money. you know, and that's very difficult to do in the very beginning. Mike, you're a perfect example of this. I would imagine that you painting, you probably had to take on a lot of, you know, shitty jobs to begin with, just to kind of pay the bills, get your name out there a little bit, and then eventually you stumble onto a client that is more in line with where you want to be, and you're still dealing with the shitty clients, but you got this good client, and then that good client tells you about, or excuse me, tells your service to other people, right? And you can slowly build this name up to where you're moving from normie to above average normie to affluent to above affluent to millionaire to mega millionaire to billionaire, and you just keep stair stepping this thing to where most of your clients are millionaires and up, you know, and that's the game. That's kind of what I'm trying to talk about. It's, yeah, like I said, we almost create the demand before the product is ever put out, and I don't know if that's like I said, I don't know if that's a real good way to put it, but anyway, that's new furniture. That's how I do it. I don't look at materials. I don't look at anything. I just look at the demand. I look at what we've charged for things in the past and stuff like that. So, okay, see, it's very difficult and still an ongoing process. Yeah, I know, Mike, but again, Mike's on here. Mike paints furniture. He's doing some pieces, some stained pieces for me right now. He's helping me out with doing toning and just making my stain grade furniture better. So Mike's one of those who adds a lot of value to the things that I do here at the Resplendent Crow, and he does a lot of that stuff on his own. So reach out to him if you need any painting done. And again, Mike, I don't know exactly all the services you do, but I know you like to paint interior things, really good with furniture, really good at toning, really good at staining, and like I said, just a myriad of skills, a good eye for detail, which is super important. He's made some of my clients very happy, so that's a good thing. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about custom work. Right, custom work's thing that I like to talk about because I hear so many people tell me today that, you know, that's what you got to do. It's all custom work. You just got to sell to affluent people, and doing custom work for these people is where all the money's at. And I'm here to tell you guys that's not true. Not because there's not money. There is absolute money in it, and you can develop a name and a client list that probably would pay the bills really well. I've just never seen it. The way that we make our money is by making production-based furniture. Now, where does custom furniture come into it? So custom furniture will pay well in certain instances. So you can, what do they say, shoot for the moon, hope for the stars. You can do those kind of things, and sometimes you're gonna hit with custom furniture. But the way it works for me and the way I price things like custom furniture is there are certain kinds of custom furniture that comes into my shop. Like, we turn down lots of custom work. Like, there's just certain things that people want made that are not right for our brand. That are not right for the kind of aesthetic that we have. And so you gotta be very careful when doing custom furniture work. You don't wanna be known as the person that just does whatever. It's very difficult to get known as that kind of person. I talk about, there's a lot of interesting people in different industries that they're very niche and they become very well known. One of the people I like to talk about is Karl Lagerfeld, right? Karl Lagerfeld is a designer in the fashion industry. Did a lot of work for different fashion, but he's mostly known for a company called Chanel. Well, this guy got known for making great collections of clothing, and he was kind of an icon. He's kind of a legend in that space. But had he went on and did other kinds of clothing, instead of just focusing on really high-end couture, new styled clothing, he would have never made it, right? He would have never been as recognized because he would have been dabbling in too many buckets, right? But he stuck to this one thing and became a legend, right? And so if you're gonna do custom work, I think you really gotta like pick your lane and stick to it. It's really important that you get really good at what you're doing and that people know that you're good at that thing and that they come to you because they want a result that is going to get them exactly what they want. They don't want you just winging it. They want to know that you're the expert in this particular kind of thing, right? So with custom furniture, the way that I look at custom furniture, and this is actually a new lesson, guys. This is something that, again, I've been in this game for 25 years at this point, and I learned something new here probably 6 months ago, okay? So I'll tell you guys a story real quick. So I've been doing custom furniture for a long time, and I had a client come to me and they wanted me to build them a table, and I'm not really a table maker, but I built a couple of them, and they're easy. Like everyone always tells you, get in the furniture game, you're gonna get rich, right? And then you go look at what they're trying to sell you. They're always trying to sell you on making tables, because there's money in making tables, and it can be done. But truth is that if you make tables, you're gonna compete with every swingy dick out there because anybody can make a table. All you need is a a circle router and a freaking flattening jig, a woodpecker flattening jig, whatever. A CNC will do it too. Flatten those things out, man, you can make all kinds of money doing it. But it sucks. It's boring, it's lame, and I don't care what anybody says. I would rather be unemployed than make tables full time. Like, it's fucking brainless work, mindless. Sorry guys, that's what I think about. Maybe it's the beer talking. But anyway, so I've been pricing custom work for a long time, and I'd make this table, right? And this guy comes to me and he says, I want you to make me a 15-foot table. And I'm just like, geez Louise, I don't know if I can even make a 15-foot table. And I think that's kind of expensive. So I was kind of thinking, I'm talking to my wife about it. We're kind of price these things. And truth is, sales are kind of slow, so we're thinking like, well, maybe we'll take these projects on, give these people kind of a deal, and we'll just, get this work. It'll be awesome. We'll use it for marketing later, blah, 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 blah. So I called buddy, I'm like, hey man, like I gotta price this table. And he is the king of like one-off wild furniture. Like, just makes the craziest shit you've ever seen. But I said, hey, I gotta make this 50-foot table. And he's like, oh, well, the standard is that anything over 8 feet gets a premium, right? So there's kind of standards for anything. This goes for china cabinets, dressers, credenzas, bookcases, whatever it might be. Once you reach a certain size, the price grows exponentially because it's very difficult to make on your own. It's very difficult from a skill standpoint. You need special people, special equipment, special facilities, all these kind of things. He says standards, are about 8-foot tables, going to be whatever, 8 to 10 grand. He says, but you start getting bigger than that, you got to start charging. You got to basically like double your prices, right? If they want something that's 15 feet, if you're going to charge 10, you really need to be charging like $15,000, $18,000, right? And I was like, wow, that's kind of cool, because it really doesn't take a lot of extra work or a lot of extra manpower, but it definitely does. So I said, okay, well, they want this out of this exotic veneer, and he's like, oh shit. He's like, well, says the way that I price stuff like that, he says, I look at the availability of the manpower and the companies around this area, right? He says, go for like, I want to say he says like a 20-mile radius, and then look at who could do that work. What kind of furniture companies are out here to make this kind of stuff? What kind of table companies are out here to make this kind of stuff? He says, that kind of table, to make it here, he says, I wouldn't touch that thing for under 60 grand. He says, if you were to go to the Northeast, which is where a lot of this stuff is, that's a $100,000 table. And I'm just like, holy shit. It really opened up my mind to how I price things, right? So this goes back to having a brand, right? You can have a brand where any swinging dick is making a table for you, or you can have a Resplendent Crow table. Resplendent Crow will always get a premium over normie working in his garage, right? Not because we're better, because we've been doing it longer. We've provided the service longer than most people. We have the most happy customers, or more happy customers, and we've achieved what's called the Lindy effect, which basically means your name is one of the last names standing. Over the years, you keep going, more people know about you, you're always there, and you get more opportunities to get business, right? This is the Lindy effect. It makes it much easier to stay in business, by the way. So anyway, he says to me, yeah, no one's gonna make that table here for under 50 grand. I'm not gonna touch it for 60, and that table on the East Coast is gonna be 100, which is where you're gonna get that kind of a table made. So I ended up charging like, I think $42,000 for that table, right? So I'm not charging as much as the master. I'm not charging what it would cost on the East Coast, right? I'm charging what I think is a fair price here based on the information that I get. Now, the materials and time on this table aren't anything wildly special, right? It's a nice table. It will look really nice when it's all said and done. But locating the material, right? Exotic kind of rare woods, right? In the sizes that we need, the manpower to move these things, all this kind of stuff. That's how I charge that particular job. There we go. Now we're back in action. So yeah, so I don't want to dissuade people from doing custom work, but a lot of custom work can become or keep good ideas for your new furniture, right? But for me, as a luxury furniture maker, boutique furniture maker, whatever you want to call it, the new stuff is where I make my money. Vintage, I do make a little bit. Vintage is going to be, we're aiming for like that 30% margin is kind of where we want to be. New furniture, it's closer to 100%. It's really good margin. Custom work, margins all over the place. But the trick to making money in custom is don't take on work that doesn't like to meet the qualifications that I'm talking about. Locally, is the craftsmanship available? And is it lust worthy, right? Do people want this stuff so bad they're willing to pay you to do it because it's not available here. If you can meet those two criteria, then you take that work on, because your clients will pay the money. They'll pay what you need because they want it, right? They're not going to go out to New York to get a table, $100,000 table they can get made here for 40, whatever, 42, whatever I said was $42,000. And people will say, well, that's ridiculous. No one's going to pay us. I'm like, there are an insane amount of clients that are willing to pay that money. There are an insane amount of clients that will pay you all kinds of great money to do really good work and to give them a product that has a lot of value to them, that they have lusted after for a long time. People pay gobs of money for this stuff, but it takes a long time to build up that client list. So anyway, those are my main hardware, or my main furniture revenue streams. We also have hardware. The way that hardware is priced is wildly different than furniture, okay? So the way that we price hardware is it's literally market rate. I could try and sell my hardware for above market. I could try and sell it for below market. But the truth is that when you just compete at market rate in the furniture space, it's easy to make money. Like, why buck the system? Why try and, I could try and be a better tier if I wanted to, but I don't need to. There's plenty of money to be made where the market's at right now. So the way that we operate in the furniture space, or excuse me, in the hardware space, is we sell higher end hardware, right? So we sell knobs that you would get at Home Depot for $5. We sell those for $70, right? So we're selling a very expensive high-end product. And the truth is that product doesn't cost a lot of money to buy. Most pulls that sell for like $70 might cost us $2 or $3. You pay whatever the hell, just say that the tariff was 100%, right? Which everyone freaks out about tariffs. If the tariff was 100% of my $3 pull, that means I'm paying $6. I'm still selling it for $70. Like, and truth is the market moves. When the tariff goes up, the market just gets higher. So basically, I can sell that pull now for $76, and the clients will pay it because we're operating in that best tier. We're not trying to sell bulk hardware for kitchen cabinets, right? We're trying to sell, whatever, 5-6 pieces at a time to furniture that we make, or furniture that other people have, and we're making 200-300% on that hardware. So hardware is very easy to make money on. The only thing that costs money with hardware is the marketing, right? And because we have a furniture company, we can put our hardware on there, and so we actually get a twofer, right? We get to show off our furniture and we get to show off our hardware. So that really helps. But if you're just in the furniture game, you will lose a lot of money paying for marketing, and paying to get photographs of your hardware being used in the places that you want it to be seen at, right? So that can get very expensive, but again, we don't have to deal with that. So the way that we price our stuff is it's literally market rate. We'll go to other companies like Modern Matter. Modern Matter is a big one. There's MTech, Signature. There's a lot of these companies that kind of operate in this best tier. We look at kind of what they're selling hardware for, and then we kind of price our stuff accordingly. One of the reasons that our stuff is so expensive, it's very difficult to get high quality stuff out of countries like India. So a pull that's $5 at Home Depot isn't going to be solid brass. It's not going to have the detail that our hardware has, because it's very difficult to get that, right? That's one of the reasons that we can charge what we charge. The stuff that comes out of these other countries that's like plated, or it's going to be like a brushed finish and have some kind of a lacquer coating over it, the quality's not great, and it's pretty easy to get that stuff over here. But it is what it is, and when you're selling at that low price point, again, you're competing with every swinging dick that has access to a country like India or China or Indonesia, so you're competing on price. We don't want to compete on price. That's why we just operate in the best tier of hardware, only solid brass hardware, and we just compete wherever the market's at, and that's kind of how we do that stuff. So again, this is the talk on pricing. Again, a watcher asked me to talk about this. I hope I answered the bulk of the questions. It's 41 minutes of me talking about pricing, which should be enough for anybody. If I could go over like individual pieces if people wanted, if they wanted a second video about how we price things. Other things that we price that I don't really talk about much is we do consulting stuff a little bit. People want to talk to us about businesses. They want to talk to us about, well, specifically my wife. They want to talk to her about designing their home, color selections, furniture selections, interior design type things. And we charge, I generally charge, I like to charge $100 an hour just to talk to people, because there's got to be skin in the game, right? I don't want people to wasting my time, and I don't want to waste their time. So that's kind of what we generally charge for that kind of stuff. My wife charged, I think she charged about $250 an hour to consult with her about design and things like that, rooms, colors, fabrics, furniture, all that kind of stuff. So there's some money to be made there, but there's not a ton of it. And again, for me, I don't really value my time very much. I like talking to people. I like helping people get into business for themselves, because I think more people need to be in business. So I generally just charge a nominal fee that I think anybody that wouldn't want to waste another person's time would be willing to pay. And same thing with my wife. She's more about, I think, getting paid though, so $250 an hour is pretty good money, I think. But I think that covers the pricing topic, hopefully in depth. I know we don't have a ton of people in here on the stream. This is, I don't think it's what people like. People like these streams, I think, for the most part, to kind of go back and forth about all kinds of stuff. Like a lot of times these streams kind of go off the rails a little bit, which is fine. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. But I was trying to stay on point as it pertains to pricing, So long story short, guys, when it comes to pricing, if you can create lust for your product, you can charge whatever you want. And I've learned this being married to my wife, who loves really expensive shit, and I've had to watch her spend insane amounts of money on clothes, and I can understand jewelry, but not clothes, and just women are addicted to fashion. And it's great, but they just love that kind of expensive chandeliers, art, all these kind of things. If you can create lust for your product, you can charge whatever you want. Like, people will, it's wild. I've had customers that have looked at our products for years. They finally get to buy a piece of our furniture, and all they want to do is tell you that they've waited forever. They're so happy to get it. They get it, they start crying, and they're happy as can be, And if you can create that, whatever that is, that desire, that lust, the scarcity of being able to get one of your pieces, if you could do that, man, geez Louise, there's a lot of money in furniture. There's a lot of money in anything, So that's my talk on pricing. Like I said, I hope it helps everyone. If you have any more questions, reach out, ask, put stuff in the comments. I'm happy to reply to people. Son, you missed the talk today. Go back and listen to it. We're talking about pricing structures. We're talking about how I price my furniture, how I price my hardware, how I price consulting fees, how I price new furniture, vintage furniture, custom furniture, all that kind of stuff. Somebody asked about it, and I figured I would talk about it today. So I hope everybody has a fantastic day and enjoy your lunch, and we'll do this again tomorrow.